Good evening. Call to order the Concord Township Board of Trustee meeting for January 3rd, 2024. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call?
Yes. Mrs. Lucci?
Present.
Mr. McIntosh?
Present.
Mr. Dondorfer?
Present.
Okay, the first item on our agenda this evening is the organizational meeting, and I will designate Mr. Tekenip as chairperson pro tem, chairperson for the meeting that's turned over to Mr. Tekenip for the purposes of electing a chairperson.
Nominations are now open for the position of chairperson for the year 2024.
I nominate Mr. Dondorfer as the chairperson for the Township Board of Trustees for the year 2024.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nominations are now open for the position of vice chairperson for 2024.
I nominate Mrs. Lucci as vice chairman for the Township Board of Trustees for the year 2024.
And I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nominations are now open for the position of fiscal officer pro tempore for 2024.
I nominate Mr. McIntosh as fiscal officer pro tempore for the year 2024.
And I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Dondorfer assumes the position of chair. Mrs. Lucci assumes the position of vice chair. Mr. McIntosh assumes the position of fiscal officer pro tempore, and Mr. Tekenip as fiscal officer.
Switch. Switch. Okay, now we will set the time and date of meetings for 2024. Trustee meetings will be held the first and third Wednesday of each month at 7:30 p.m. in the Town Hall Meeting Room. And office hours precede the trustee meeting from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Staff meetings will be set for the Monday preceding the first trustee meeting of each month at 3 o'clock p.m. in Town Hall. The appropriations workshop will be announced at a later date. Special meetings will be announced at least 24 hours in advance and posted on our website, emailed to local newspapers, including the News Herald, the Plain Dealer, and the Lake County Tribune. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will now make the department assignments for each trustee. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we make the department assignments for each trustee as follows. For fire, Mr. Dondorfer. For service, Mr. McIntosh. Zoning, recreation, and administration, Mrs. Lucci.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will now appoint the township department directors. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the following Township Department Directors. Legal Counsel Bridie Manthony. Cemetery Section Carrie Warner. Fire Chief Matthew Sabo. Service Department Director Tim Brown. Recreation Director Sean Supler. Planning and Zoning Director, Zoning Inspector Heather Freeman, and Secretary to the Board of Zoning Appeals and Zoning Commission Heather Freeman.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will now establish legal holidays for the year. If the holidays fall on a Saturday, it is observed on the preceding Friday. On Sunday, it is observed on the following Monday. Do I hear a motion?
I move we establish the legal holidays for 2024 as follows. January 1, New Year's Day. January 15, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. February 19, President's Day. May 27th, Memorial Day. June 19, Juneteenth Day. July 4th, Independence Day. July 5th, Trustee Designated Holiday. September 2nd, Labor Day. October 14th, Columbus Day. November 11th, Veterans Day. November 28th, Thanksgiving Day. November 29th, day after Thanksgiving. December 25th, Christmas Day.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to establish the 2024 holidays for fire department firefighting personnel as follows. January 1, New Year's Day. March 31, Easter Sunday. May 27th, Memorial Day. June 19, Juneteenth Day. July 4th, Independence Day. September 2nd, Labor Day. November 28th, Thanksgiving Day. And December 25th, Christmas Day.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We now will establish the millage rate. Do I hear a motion?
I move,
Mileage.
I'm sorry, mileage rate.
I move we,
My bad, I'm reading it wrong.
I move we establish 2024 mileage rate reimbursements per IRS guidelines. As of 1/1/2024, it is 67 cents per mile.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The temporary appropriations for 2024 were passed at the regular meeting on 12/20/2023. Resolution 2023-28. Mrs. Lucci made a motion to approve the rates as discussed. Mr. Dondorfer seconded the motion. Roll call vote. Mrs. Lucci, yes. Mr. Dondorfer, yes. Mr. McIntosh, yes. At the 12/20/2023 regular meeting, Mrs. Lucci moved to approve the list of super blanket certificates 1-2024 through 108-2024 effective January 1st, 2024. Mr. Dondorfer seconded the motion. The vote was 3 yeas. Motion to appoint 2 board members to the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Fund Board.
Make a motion to elect Mrs. Lucci to the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Fund Board to serve 1-year term commencing 1/1/2024.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I make a motion to elect Morgan McIntosh to the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Fund Board to serve a 1-year term commencing 1/1/2024.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This concludes the organizational meeting portion of the regular trustees meetings, and we will move to the regular meeting agenda. Okay, we got through that.
Yeah, good job.
Okay, moving on through the meeting into the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the December 20th, 2023 regular trustees meeting minutes.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to elected official reports. Our fiscal officer, Mr. James Technic.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and healthy new year. We are starting the new year 2023, and Concord Township remains fiscally sound. I know there's talk that we are in need of some new sources of revenue, but we are still fiscally sound. We have all positive carryover balances and things like that, but it's something we're working on constantly, a way to find new sources of funding. From that, the township began 2023 with $12.8 million in the treasury. We collected $12.1 million in bond proceeds, taxes, grants, interest, permit, and EMS fees, leases and rents, community center classes, cemetery sales, and gifts and donations. And that equals 102% of our budgeted volume, our budgeted revenue, I mean. We expended $13.2 million in current year appropriations for salaries and benefits, fire station operations, road improvements, road repair and maintenance, emergency services and equipment, property maintenance, fees to the Lake County and State of Ohio, and building improvements. This was 94% of our current year projected expenditures. In addition, we ended the year with $619,047 in encumbered funds, which are set aside for specific purposes. $3.5 million is required to cover expenses until the first half real estate taxes arrive at the end of March 2024. Financial statements, annual financial statements for Concord Township will be available after March 1st. If you have any questions or concerns, contact the fiscal office at 354-7516. Again, happy and healthy New Year to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Technic. Trustees, Mrs. Lucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. We are certainly looking forward to a new good year and serving the residents of Concord Township. We do have a lot of work ahead of us, and I do promise that we will definitely be working hard. I want to welcome our new legal counsel, Ms. Bridie Matheny. It's great to have you here, and we look forward to working with you, so thank you. I'm happy to report that Williams Road project is complete. I want to thank the Lake County Engineer's Office for completing it on time and before school started, I think today. Today was the first day of school. I did have a few folks comment to me about the levee fail and asking how we're going to proceed. It's definitely something that is in the forefront of our minds. We are still working on it. We are speaking with individuals in the county and trying to come up with a balanced solution, and more to come on that. Aside from that, we did have our staff meeting last week where we heard updates from our department heads and discussed various plans for 2024. And aside from that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I want to wish everyone a happy new year. 2024 is here, off to a great start. I had a couple questions about zoning and development, so there just seems to be a percolating conversation. I know we've got a BZA hearing coming up. And so I've been dealing with that. Also, Mrs. Lucci, as you pointed out, that our budget's got some going forward as far as the levy failing. We've got a lot of things. So very involved in conversations with the sheriff's contract and how that staffing will go. I know Mr. Dondorf and I are talking with Mr. Rose and members of the county quite a bit. Also, as I've mentioned in the past, I'm part of a subcommittee working group on the local government fund project, which is how state funds get apportioned to the various entities in Lake County. Spending a lot of time working on that, and so we're working on options, and there's a lot of things in motion. I would also like to welcome Bridie. It's very great to have you here. Just like to say a word or two about Mr. Lucas, who did have his last meeting with us 2 weeks ago, and it served the township well and for a long time. He will definitely be missed, but we are very excited to have a breath of fresh air with us. So with that, concludes my report.
Thank you. Yes, I'd also like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. I hope you had a great holiday. I would also like to welcome Bridie Matheny to the team. It's great to have you as legal counsel, and we look forward to moving forward with you. And also to thank Mike Lucas for all that he's done for Concord Township over the year. He's done an exemplary job representing the township and longtime residents. So thank you, Mike. Yeah, Mrs. Lucci mentioned, she took some questions regarding the levee failure, and I know that you and I and the board has addressed the commissioners in a recent meeting to try to spark some dialogue on some different alternatives on shoring up our first responders within the township and not only Concord Township, but the townships. Looking to have some dialogue with the county to increase their funding and providing additional law enforcement officers to increase what they contributed early on in 2008, and we're looking at having some dialogue and some strategic planning to move forward with our township as far as connecting with our residents to try to see how we're going to move forward and sustain our safety services. So we'll work through that through 2024. I did have some follow up on that noise complaint regarding that new development at 44, and talked with the state and looking at some additional assistance for those residents over there. And other than that, that's all I had. So we'll move forward into department reports. And our administration department, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer, members of the board, Mr. Technip, welcome aboard, Mrs. Matheny, members of the audience, good evening. There's one item on the agenda. Item A is a resolution. It repeals Resolution 2023 TAC 31, which at the last meeting appointed the law director, and it replaces it with some updated language that's needed pursuant to Ohio Revised Code in relation to limited home rule townships. So this is a limited home rule resolution, so you'll need a motion to waive the 2 readings, and then the new resolution includes emergency language so it can go into effect immediately, and Mrs. Matheny gets to stay. So that's important. We recently received some correspondence from ODOT, which I thought was encouraging. They have indicated that they have begun the initial planning phase, and they're going to do some early field work That should be starting soon for the resurfacing of State Route 44 from Capitol Parkway south to the Chardon Township line. This project also includes adding a turn lane and slightly widening girdled road at State Route 44. So that's a good thing. There's also going to be some turn lanes installed at Colburn and Hosford Road at 44, and then they're also going to put in a new traffic signal at Hosford Road. The work for the project is expected to begin late 2025, spring 2026, so it's still a little while, but they've put us on notice that we may see some initial markings so that engineers can start their planning and detailed drawings. The project's expected to last about 15 months, so that's what's happening there, but I appreciate the state's investment in taking care of 44 and especially the intersection there at Girdle Road and giving it a little more width in a turn lane. I think that's needed. And then finally, I know it's been brought up briefly, but I'm still going back and forth with Representative Calendar's office, just making sure that all the information they need for our capital budget request is solid. I talked to them yesterday, and everything is still good to go. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Our Fire Department, Chief Sabo.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, Chief.
New Year.
So I figured I'd give a kind of a recap of 2023 instead of just going over December. So we'll kind of go over, these numbers are not official, not until the annual report. So, but gives you an idea. So for the year 2023, we ran a total of 3,015 calls, which is another increase from the previous year of 3,004. In 2023, we had 1,987 EMS events with 1,524 transports to local hospitals. We had 1,028 non-EMS reports or incidents. Of the total incidents, Station 1 responded to 1,674 events, and Station 2 responded to 1,327. We responded to 64 fires, 101 hazardous condition calls, 444 service calls, 196 good intent calls, 217 false alarms or false calls, and we gave mutual aid 259 times and received mutual aid 129 times. And we had 937 overlapping calls, averaging about 31% of the call volume for the year. Just specifically in December, our Fire Prevention Bureau was still busy. They did 55 inspections in December, accounting for about 82 hours. They did one plan review and performed 4 hours of continuing education and assisted with 2 fire investigations outside of Concord Township. They also presented a fire prevention education and station tour for a Concord family that homeschools. So they came in and took a tour of the new fire station, and everyone seemed to have a really good time. They also did employee CPR and first aid training for the safety staff at Stephen Douglas. And installed 1 Knox box, residential lockbox. I also had I took the opportunity to watch last meeting's trustee meeting. And I just wanted to, first of all, you guys did great. From a 36,000 foot view, you did well. But I just like to clarify some things. And I think the gentleman from Girdled Road was well intent, but I think the word he was trying to use or should have used was tanker. Concord Township does not own a tanker. We have 4 pumpers, and I know pumpers was the word he kept using, but we do have 4 pumpers. We don't have any tankers, and we do not have a ladder truck. Okay, so of the 4 pumpers, 2 of them respond to every structure fire. Each of those trucks, each of those pumpers carries 1,000 gallons of water and 2,000 feet of 5-inch large diameter fire hose that connects to the hydrant to get us water it basically is an above ground water main. So each of those carries 2,000 feet. One is at station 1 and one is at station 2. So what happens when we have a suspected or confirmed structure fire, let's say on Girdled Road or on Auburn Road, where the areas that were brought into question at the last meeting? And that's a really good question. We have a couple of options, and just to use an example, we did have a fire on Auburn Road, about halfway between the hydrants. So I went out and measured, because I was just inquisitive, how much distance there was between the two hydrants. And it's 0.6 of a mile. So that's about 1,200 to 1,300 feet. And again, remember, we carry, or I'm sorry, it's about 20, half a mile is about 2,600 feet. And we carry 2,000 feet of hose on each truck. So we did have a fire about halfway in between that at about 0.3 of a mile on Auburn Road, about halfway between those two. At that incident, our firefighters did a fantastic job. They got a good knock on the fire because we come with, right off the rip, Concord Township's coming with 2 pumpers, each carrying 1,000 gallons. Plus, I have Painesville Township coming with a pumper. Plus, I have Painesville City coming with an engine or a ladder. Then I have squads coming from Fairport. And I think on that event, we actually went even further and dropped a Mavis box. So I was getting even more pumpers. I was getting more ambulances, and I was getting more chiefs. But we were able to confine the damage, immediate fire damage to the attached garage on that structure. So typically what happens, we call that a relay pump operation, where we'll stage a pumper at the hydrant, at the closest hydrant, and their job is to pump the water to the next engine or to the fire scene, depending on what that distance is. Then we basically take the water from that hydrant, and we pump it up to the fire scene, and we have water. Now there are parts of Concord Township that's not an option. So we also have auto aid agreements established with departments that are dispatched immediately for any suspected or confirmed fire. They're dispatched immediately, such as Hamden or Leroy. So excuse me 1 second here. So Hamden has a tanker. It carries an additional 2,000 gallons. Thompson's coming. They carry an additional 2,500 gallons. Munson's coming with an additional 2,000 gallons. Possibly, depending on where the fire is, Chardon's also coming with a tanker. So, and with more manpower. So there is a lot of water coming. And each one of our engines is capable of pumping 1,500 gallons per minute. So we could do a lot of work with the resources we have on scene right away. And our firefighters train very hard at that rural firefighting operation. So because we know that's how we got to ISO 3. That's how we got to a level 3, because of that training, knowing that we have waterless areas of Concord Township still today.
How long does that 1 to 2,000? So if you've got 2 trucks coming, they've got between the two of them 2 or 3, all 3. How long does the 1,000 gallons last in a fire?
Typically, it lasts us a little bit of time because we're not opening a bail.
Constant.
We're not constantly flowing full bore. We're going to go into the house. We're going to open the bail. We're going to hit it, and then we're going to advance. We're going to hit it, and we're going to advance. And that's how we fight fire. We're not just, unless it's a defensive operation where we're outside and we have large diameter streams going, master streams, it lasts us quite a bit.
So that's going to last you a bit of time for all of this mutual aid that you talked about.
Sure.
So when people hear you talk about the time,
Yeah.
what we're bringing to scene is going to hold off it's going to do a lot of good before so we have that time to wait.
Right, and that was another good point that was brought up at the last meeting is, it does take time for those. It takes time for Thompson to mobilize and get up to us. It takes time for Munson. But we can do a lot of work in the first few minutes until we get that water established. And I'll tell you, I'll put these guys, especially the Geauga County departments, they can shuttle water. They know rural water supply, and they don't let anything get in their way. So they're very good at their craft. Any questions on that? I hope that.
So what's the difference, the main difference then? A tanker just holds more than a pumper?
Yeah, so a tanker, so you have some, most of the departments around us that have tankers they work tandem. They also are pumpers. Thompson Fire Department's a little different. All they can do is gravity dump. They don't have a pump. They're the only ones that are a little bit different. So they go to they come to the fire, they drop their water in a huge portable swimming pool that we set up. And then they go to a fill site. And like using Auburn Road for an example, Lamuth is our perfect fill site because there's a hydrant right at the end of the driveway. So that's a perfect site for us to set up. The tankers will fill, then go back up the hill, dump the water, and then come back. You know, on the Girdle Road side, Auburn Career Center's Hort building in the back there has at the Public Safety Center has a hydrant for us to fill.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the main difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The only other thing that just to bring up, the fire department leadership has been. We're going to be meeting. We have some work to do. We've been faced with, well, not just us, but departments all around us are being faced with some delays at the emergency rooms. So we got to really take a hard look at which hospitals we're able to transport to. There's one hospital that it wouldn't be unusual for us to have a squad sitting there for 4 hours while they wait to transfer the patient to a nurse and to a bed. We don't get call ahead seating. So it's basically a triage system at the emergency room just as much as it is for us. So we're going to have to make some tough choices here down the road as far as, so far we've been fortunate and it hasn't caused a problem. But the longer we delay this, making different adjustments, I'm afraid that we're going to open ourselves up to some significant issues unless we make some changes to which hospitals we transport to on a regular basis. I will say, no matter what happens, our focus is always, always, always quality patient care. Mm-hmm. The patient will always go to the facility that is appropriate. So if they're having a heart attack, they're going to a heart center, a cardiac center. If they're having a stroke, they're going to a stroke center. If they're a trauma, they're going to a trauma center. That goes without saying. That will never change, and our paramedics will always do amazing work. So just to keep you in the loop on things that we're talking about over there as far as how we have to adjust. The emergency departments are doing a fantastic job with the resources they have. They have staffing shortages, and more and more people are using the emergency room, and that's not slowing down since COVID. So, but we can't afford to have an ambulance sitting there waiting to transfer a patient for. I've heard squads sitting there for 6 hours. Wow. I've heard they've had shift changes. They'd had to send out a new crew to do a shift change at the hospital and bring the old crew back because they weren't able to transfer care. So just something to keep in mind, and just so you know what we're working on.
Thanks for the explanation.
You bet.
Thank you.
Service Department, Tim Brown.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Service Department in the month of December responded to 2 call-outs for snow and ice operations. Approximately 220 tons of salt was applied to the roadways throughout the township. Other activities performed by the Service Department were assisting the Rec Department with preparing Town Hall complex with Christmas tree lighting. Our crews are out evaluating roadways for concrete replacement and asphalt maintenance. Equipment that was previously stored outdoors was moved into our new service department storage building. Cemetery operations, pothole patching, ditch maintenance, and equipment maintenance were also performed by the service department. The service department's been working with the Lake County Engineers Office on the 2024 joint road resurfacing projects. The 2024 Concord Township roads to be resurfaced are Viewmont Drive, Page Drive, and Winchell Road. These roadways will receive asphalt milling, depth repairs, and culvert replacements prior to being resurfaced. In addition to the roads being resurfaced, 11 roads that were resurfaced within the past 2 to 4 years will receive a reclamite rejuvenation treatment, which will restore the maltine components in the asphalt, helping prolong the life of the asphalt and prevent premature deterioration. This application can extend the life of a roadway 3 to 5 years. The Service Department encourages residents with questions or concerns to contact us at 440-350-3225 or by email at concordtwp.com under Service Department. We hope all residents have a safe and healthy 2024. That concludes my report.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Brown.
Thank you.
Zoning Department, Heather Freeman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to take this opportunity to share with the trustees and the residents some of the year-end statistics regarding the zoning board activities, permits, and other zoning inspector activities. The zoning boards are made up of citizens appointed by the Board of Trustees to review and make determinations or recommendations on planning and zoning matters assigned to them. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial body that hears requests for variance to the strict application of the zoning resolution. They hear requests for area and use variance, appeals of the zoning inspector's decisions, and conditional uses. The Zoning Commission provides formal recommendations to the Board of Trustees on amendments to the zoning resolution text and the zoning map. The board also reviews applications for site plan review for commercial, non-residential, and multifamily projects. These citizens provide a valuable service to the township by sharing their expertise and perspective. Activity for this year was as follows. The Board of Zoning Appeals took action on 20 different cases. This was down from 28 in 2022. The Zoning Commission took action on 2 site plan review applications. Again, this was also down from 8 that they reviewed in 2022. The 2 projects that they did approve included a new public safety training building for the Auburn Career Center, and the second was for a tunnel car wash and ice cream parlor. The Zoning Commission also held 3 separate public hearings for various zoning amendments. The 2023 year resulted in fewer zoning permits than in 2022 as far as the total number of permits that our office approved. The township finished the 2023 year with processing 382 permits, which was 19 less than in 2022. The average number of zoning permits processed since 2012 is 361 permits per year. So we are still above that average. The total number of new dwelling units was down from 2022. The township finished the 2023 year approving 88 new dwelling units, which was 25 less than in 2022. The average number of dwelling units approved since 2010 is 71 per year. Commercial construction activity compared to last year was about the same. There were 2 zoning permits issued for new construction. These new buildings included a new sheet store on Capitol Parkway and the Johnny's Auto Spa and Detail and Little Mountain Creamery that are under construction over at Cryle and Old Cryle. Additionally, for the year 2023, the zoning inspector and their assistant performed 984 zoning permit inspections for properties that had open zoning permits. Also this year, we received and followed up on 164 complaints about potential zoning violations, which was up from only 48 from 2022. And with that, I know that was a lot of numbers, and I think I'm going to put this together in like a nice report for you guys.
Great.
I can share in addition to the monthly report that I typically do for you.
Thank you.
But I look forward to serving the community in 24 again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Rec Department, Sean Suppler.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
My apologies about not being at our meeting last week. It's been a constant battle of sickness with my children, so I was unable to be there last week, so apologies about that. December was a busy month, but also a fun one for the rec department. As I stated at our last trustee meeting, we had our tree lighting ceremony and Santa party here at the Town Hall campus on Friday, December 1st. On Saturday, December 9th, we had letters to Santa with Mrs. Claus. We had 8 kids signed up for that. They enjoyed writing letters to Santa with Mrs. Claus. We also read them stories. We handed out mugs with hot chocolate packets and mailboxes stuffed with candy, so that was a good little program there. We did 52 video personalized messages from Santa and Mrs. Claus to children and people in this area. So thanks to Santa and Mrs. Claus for stopping by the new fire station and doing all of those video messages, and wishing everyone Merry Christmas. We had 22 houses registered for the Light Up Concord contest with 3 different categories receiving entries. The winning houses for those, we had traditional lights was 6680 Deerhaven. The all white was 8220 Mount Royal. And then the Clark Griswold and the People's Choice winner was 12188 Girdle Road. So congratulations to all those.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was an increase of about, I think, 8 houses from last year to this year. So it's good to see those numbers going up. So congratulations to all our winners and all those who's entered. We appreciate you doing that and hope to see you back next year. And then just a side note, I do want to point out Santa and Mrs. Claus for all their hard work that they did for us during their holiday season. I think we all know who those are here in this room. So they do a lot of work for the township, and we really appreciate them doing that for us. So, and then also to Susie Cobb in the Recreation Department. The amount of hours that she put into those programs in December is countless, and I do not envy that job. I'm glad I don't have to do all of that. Driving around to all the houses, she takes all the pictures for the Light Up Concord contest. She puts them all up on the voting, does all the online voting. She organizes all the personal messages for Santa and Mrs. Claus to go over. She does all the decorating and much more. So I thank her for all her work. Now for our upcoming events for our 55 plus group, and just a reminder, all of our 55 plus socials are on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. Wednesday, January 10th is our air fryer demo with LaDonna Altman. January 17th is advanced planning with Kayla Flowers. It's a presentation that focuses on planning your healthcare future. January 31st is bingo, and that's our snowflake theme. One new special event that I want to point out in February, it's on Tuesday, February 13th, we're going to be doing a Mardi Gras event, a Mardi Gras party. We're going to be supplying jambalaya and the famous king cakes for our seniors. And to sign up for that, and everyone can bring a dish to share as well. For our programming, our mind and body martial arts happening on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and all these are just starting up again with the new year. So there are youth classes for 8 to 12-year-olds, and adults are 13 and up. And all students, new students, receive the first month free, so contact the Recreation Department. We are continuing our relationship with Rookie Sports for the 24 year. We're going to be doing a basketball program at Lamuth, and that starts next Friday, January 12th, and runs through February 9th. We're doing that for ages 4 to 5, and that runs from 6 to 6:45, and ages 6 to 8 years old, and that's from 7 to 7:45. We have 26 total kids signed up for that, so it's a great number for us for just starting that program out. And thanks to Lamuth for allowing us to do that program as well. So it's just trying to build a good partnership between us and the schools, and it's been going very well so far. Our kids' dance classes begin Thursday next week. We have 3 different age groups that cover ages 2 to 8-year-olds, and that's at the community center. I know everyone's trying to get their New Year's resolutions started back up, so we have a few exercise programs starting back up in January. We have our gentle yoga morning classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do gentle yoga on Monday evenings, that's with Colleen Stone, and then a yoga Pilates fusion on Wednesday evenings, also taught by Colleen Stone. And just a couple small little programs. In January, we're doing make and take bath bombs on January 18th, and tinted lip gloss with Joanna Orgavan on January 29th. Stained glass class with Vicky Vessel is Beveled Hearts on January 10th and 17th. We have no special events or community programs going on in January, so we are working hard on the next printed grapevine, which will go out in mid-February. And we are hard at work for looking forward to our spring summer months, including our summer concert series, which is almost fully booked, and our community days, which is Saturday, August 10th. Encourage residents to keep signing up for the e-grapevine. You can do that by visiting concordtwp.com to receive monthly updates on new and exciting programs, as well as important information from all of our departments here. If you have any questions or would like to sign up for any programs, please contact the Recreation Department at 440-639-4650. And then just a personal note, I hit my 1-year anniversary yesterday. So
Year already?
yeah, it's been a year already, which is crazy to think, but it's been a great year, and
Great.
I thank you all for giving me this opportunity, and for everyone in this room for making it an easy transition. So thank you all very much. And that concludes
Thank
my
you.
report.
You're doing a
you.
great job.
Yes,
We appreciate it.
congratulations.
Moving on to Concord Law Enforcement from the Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Musla. Thanks for coming. Evening.
Happy New Year. It was another busy month. In December, we had 1,049 total calls for service. Accidents, we had 3 injury accidents and 12 property damage accidents. Arrests, 5 misdemeanor arrests and 2 felony arrests. There was arrests for domestic violence, assault, menacing, obstruction, assault on police officers. We had weapons under disability, operating a vehicle intoxicated. Total of 46 alarms, 21 citations, 142 warnings, 3 driving under suspension, and 2 OVIs. There was 44 business checks and 78 crime preventions. And just to highlight some of the new investigations that we had, there was 3 assaults/felony assaults, 1 disorderly conduct, 10 disturbances, 9 domestic violence, 1 drug investigation, 2 mental health complaints, emergency admissions, 3 missing persons reports. We had 6 scams, 1 being a large Bitcoin scam, 1 shots fired complaint, 44 suspicious circumstances, 10 thefts, 2 new vandalisms, and 16 welfare checks.
Thanks, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving on into our audience portion of the meeting this evening. I don't believe we have anybody here. Moving on into old business, seeing that we have none, we will move into new business, and it looks like we have 1 vote this evening.
Mr. Chairman, I move to suspend the rules to waive 2 readings of Resolution 2024-01.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution repealing resolution number 2023-31, appointing Thrasher, Dinsmore, and Dolan, LPA, as the law director of Concord Township effective retroactively to January 1st, 2024, authorizing the chairperson of the Board of Trustees of Concord Township or his designee to enter into and execute a legal services agreement with Thrasher, Dinsmore, and Dolan, LPA, for calendar years 2024 and 2025, and declaring an emergency.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to items voted on at the December 27, 2023 staff meeting. Mr. Rose?
Yeah. Items voted on at the 12/27/23 staff meeting. We entered into executive session for the purpose of discussing grievance and employee compensation for 2024 pursuant to ORC, Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1. Mrs. Lucci moved to have Administrator Rose, Chief Sabo, HR Coordinator Cindy Sadler, Fiscal Officer Jim Technip, and Bridie Matheny and Brandon Dines from Thrasher, Dinsmore, and Dolan, and John Patriarca to join an executive session. Mr. McIntosh seconded, and that was passed. And then at 9:50 a.m., Mrs. Lucci moved to enter into executive session for the purposes of discussing the grievance and employee compensation pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1. Mr. McIntosh seconded. And that roll call vote was Mr. McIntosh and Mrs. Lucci both voting yes. And then at 10:17 a.m., Mrs. Lucci moved to exit out of executive session. Mr. McIntosh voted, the vote was seconded, the vote was 2 ayes. The other item at the meeting was the approval of the 2024 salaries and pay scale. Mrs. Lucci moved to approve the 2024 salaries and pay scale. Mr. McIntosh seconded, and the roll call vote was Mr. McIntosh and Mrs. Lucci both voting yes. And that concluded the items voted on at the staff meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Moving on to future meetings and announcements. Mr. Technic.
Thank you. On January 10th at 7 p.m., a BZA meeting will be held at Town Hall. On January 15th, at Town Hall will be closed in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. On January 17th, the trustees' office hours will be held from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. in the Town Hall Conference Room. Also on January 17th, following the trustee office hours, a trustee meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. at Town Hall.
Thank you. And that concludes our meeting this evening. Have a good night, Concord Township.
Thank you.
No statement.